You know what nobody tells you about marriage? That the person who made your heart race might one day bore you to tears. Not because they changed, but because you finally noticed they were always different. So here you are, sitting across from someone at dinner, and they're talking about something you couldn't care less about. Maybe it's their obsession with true crime podcasts while you're into fantasy football. Maybe they're quoting philosophers you've never heard of while you just want to watch reality TV. The gap feels like a canyon, and you're wondering how you got here. Now imagine you're the therapist in this scenario. Two people walk into your office, clearly miserable, clearly disconnected. What's your first question? It's not whether they still love each other, it's whether they remember why they started this thing in the first place. Here's a secret that the self-help industry doesn't want you to know. Shared interests were never the glue holding relationships together. That's right, all those articles about finding hobbies together and attending workshops as a couple, they're selling you a solution to a problem that doesn't actually exist. Think about your grandparents for a second. Odds are, grandpa liked fishing and grandma liked knitting. And somehow they made it 50 years without a single couples yoga class. The difference wasn't what they did together, it was what they agreed to tolerate. But wait, you're thinking, what about values and worldviews? Surely those matter more than hobbies, right? Well, here's where it gets interesting. You can have completely different ideologies and still build a life together, but only if you're playing by one crucial rule. The rule is this: curiosity beats compatibility every single time. When your partner starts talking about their thing, the thing you don't care about, you have exactly two choices. You can mentally check out and start planning your grocery list, or you can get genuinely curious about why they care. Most people choose the grocery list. Picture the couple who votes differently every election. Sounds like a nightmare, doesn't it? Cue the dramatic music and the inevitable divorce lawyers. Except some of these couples are doing just fine because they figured out something radical. Disagreement doesn't require contempt. Here's what actually happens in relationships that survive fundamental differences. The partners become amateur anthropologists studying each other's weird little worlds. She's into astrology and he thinks it's complete nonsense, but he asks her why Mercury in retrograde matters to her. He's obsessed with cryptocurrency and she thinks it's a scam, but she asks him what excites him about decentralization. They don't have to agree, they just have to give a damn about understanding. The marriage counseling industry pulls in over $2 billion annually in the United States alone. Know what most of that money is spent on? Teaching couples to communicate. But here's the kicker. It's not about learning to express yourself better. It's about learning to listen to things you fundamentally don't care about without your eyes glazing over. Some experts say couples need at least 70% compatibility to thrive. Others claim differences create necessary tension and growth. Who's right? Probably neither, because they're measuring the wrong thing entirely. What actually predicts whether a marriage survives differences isn't how much you have in common, it's whether you can maintain respect when you have nothing in common. That's the metric nobody wants to talk about because it's harder to teach and impossible to measure. So you're back at that dinner table, and your spouse is still going on about their thing. The old strategy was to nod politely while planning your escape into your phone. The new strategy, the one that actually works, is to ask one real question. Just one. Not a polite question, a real one. Here's the uncomfortable truth about why this feels so hard. We've been sold this myth that soulmates finish each other's sentences and love all the same things. Real life looks more like two people who occasionally wonder if they accidentally married a stranger, but they're committed to figuring out who that stranger actually is. The adaptation happens slowly, almost invisibly. You stop expecting your partner to morph into your clone. They stop expecting you to fake enthusiasm for their passions. Instead, you both develop this weird appreciation for each other's strangeness. It's not romantic, but it's sustainable. Think about arranged marriages for a second, the ones that last decades. These people started with absolutely nothing in common, except a commitment to make it work. No shared Netflix queue, no mutual friends, sometimes not even a shared language at first. Yet many of them report growing into deep love. How? They got curious instead of compatible. Meanwhile, couples who matched on every dating app algorithm are filing for divorce after 3 years because he wanted kids eventually and she wanted them now. Or because they both loved hiking, But it turns out one person's idea of hiking is a leisurely stroll, and the other's is a 14-mile mountain trek. Compatibility looks great on paper until real life shows up. The cycle continues because we keep teaching the wrong lesson. We tell people to find someone who shares their values, their interests, their worldview. Then we act surprised when they discover their partner is actually a separate human being with their own brain. Shocking, right? As the backlash against traditional marriage grows, some people are experimenting with new models, living separately together, platonic co-parenting, open marriages. And you know what's funny? These arrangements still require the same skill, tolerating fundamental differences without losing respect. You can't innovate your way out of that one. Despite every think piece about modern relationships and every new dating app feature, the same basic challenge persists. Two different people trying to build one shared life. The technology changes, the terminology updates, but the core problem remains stubbornly human. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Saving a marriage between two different people requires accepting that your spouse will never fully get you. They'll never love your favorite movie the way you do. They'll never care about your political views as much as you want them to. And that's not a bug, that's just what happens when two separate humans decide to share a lease on life. The couples who make it aren't the ones who finally found enough common ground. They're the ones who stopped searching for it. They built their relationship on something weirder and more durable than shared interests. Shared commitment to enduring each other's differences without resentment. You want the real secret to surviving ideological differences in marriage? Stop trying to convert each other. Your partner is not a fixer-upper project. They're not going to suddenly see the world your way after the right argument or the perfect documentary. They're going to keep being who they are. And you have to decide if you can respect that person even when you disagree with them. The statistics on marriage success keep shifting, but one thing remains constant. The couples who stay together aren't necessarily the happiest or most compatible. They're just the ones who decided that their differences were interesting rather than intolerable. They chose curiosity over contempt, and somehow that choice, made daily, adds up to a lifetime. That's the game behind every anniversary celebration you see. Not perfect harmony, but persistent willingness to stay curious about someone who will never stop surprising you and sometimes annoying you. But here's the twist. Tomorrow's couple might figure out something even stranger than simply coexisting. Maybe they'll discover that differences were the whole point all along.